Tim,
Maani.
excited to have you on this.
Excited to be here.
3 decades now, you've been at the forefront of brand, marketing, technology, working for some pretty well-known businesses and brands. Hugo Boss, EMI, AOL, sorry to age you a bit. We're about to see some of the most disruptive change to the world with AI. What are your thoughts around this, specifically with your world, marketing, digital?
I think like anything where everybody says it's going to be a massive disruptive change, the change that we anticipate, we think it's going to be bigger than it really is.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, when we look further out, 10 years out, we will look back and it will be even bigger than we're imagining right now. I don't think it will be as drastic. I don't think it will be as fast across the board as so many people are sort of talking about, and particularly the doomsayers and the Cassandras. But I do think that there are things that are changing incredibly quickly. And there's a quote that Scott Galloway, I don't know whether he made it up, but Scott Galloway, Prof G, talks about of an AI isn't going to take your job, but somebody who knows how to use AI is probably going to take your job. And I think that's the way to think about it. Every single thing that we do now in the marketing and creative services world will be changed as a result of the technologies that are coming through at the moment. But those technologies themselves are going to enable the development of further iterations and developments of technology that will shift things even further.
So I agree with everything you said there. I do want to counter the speed of change, though. So if you were right now an agency that was a content-based agency, right? As a random example,
Yep.
or even a media agency, surely you'd be worried that your entire business model will be decimated, right?
Oh, totally. Completely agree. And I think let's take both of those as two separate things, because I think what's going to come for both of those, content agencies, media agencies, is different things are going to hit them. I think content agencies need to adapt to a completely new way of thinking about how content gets developed. I think that the creative element of conceiving of an idea, of having the sort of the curation and the taste making and the editing that sits on top of that will still absolutely be super important, if not more important.
Yeah.
Because we're going to get a sea of just dire crap because it's being
Totally
pumped out
agree.
really, really quickly.
Yep.
But so many agencies that have made their money on production, they've given away the strategy and the creative thinking, and they've just made money on production. That game is completely up.
Totally agree.
And it's even down to really simple things. And it's one of the things that we did at Hugo Boss. We were paying agencies huge amounts of money every month just to reformat assets. And literally that can now be done in 5 minutes by telling an AI what to do in terms of reformatting. Here's a set of dimensions and criteria that we need and all the formats. Go do it. Bang, done.
Yeah.
Would have been a week's worth of work for an agency.
I think the smaller repetitive tasks will instantaneously be are already gone, frankly.
Yep.
Even at Poppins, we have a rule that everything is still digitally handmade, but actually what we can do is drive massive efficiencies. So actually the big thinking, the creativity, the strategy can percolate far deeper and longer.
Yep.
The question, though, that I pose in these situations is, really, do you agree that with the power of AI, the empowerment that comes with AI, because that's what I believe it does, right? It takes an individual and just makes them more capable, as long as they are proficient prompt engineers and proficient with the tools. Actually, it leans more on the need for deep level strategy, experience, creativity. And what I mean by that, we see team members within our world, we'll put a prompt in there, and the average prompt for a normal person is, make me an image of a man wearing a hat, and it comes out with drivel. And in fact, you can put the same thing in again, it comes out with drivel. It's kind of good looking quality image, but it's drivel. Whereas actually, when you take a creative director who historically has spent decades in photography, in videography, in fashion, at Hugo Boss, actually the prompt is wildly different, right? It's the setting, the scene, the lighting, the type of camera lens, the angles, and actually that gives you a different output.
Yep.
So I think there is something there around a lean back into, actually, if you have experience and if you have knowledge and if you have creativity, you're still going to be empowered more than the average person that can come in and stick in a prompt.
I think one-step prompting is lazy. It's actually really inadequate. And prompt engineering is a sort of a phrase that gets bandied around a lot. So much of it is actually around prompt, lateral thinking and creativity, because it's a little bit like it's like being a director, because what you need to do is you need to take the picture and the idea that you've got in your head of what you want the output to be, whether it's a piece of copy, whether it's an image, whether it's a piece of moving image footage, film, whatever you want to call it. You need to translate what is in your head through prompts into the platform that you're using in order to have it then generate it. Then it's a case of saying, no, less like this, no, more like that. No, go back and do this. No, go back and do that. And it's recognizing that what you can't expect it to do is just give the picture that's in your head and expect it to fill in the gaps.
Sure.
LLMs will not fill in the gaps. They act on a series of instructions. And it's a little bit like having an intern. When you've got a really, really bright intern, but they've got no experience, you can't expect them to be able to go and do it immediately. You need to do it, step by step, and you need to check it. Every single thing that you do that comes out of whatever platform you're using needs to be checked. And that's where the intern thing works as a really good example as well, or the analogy holds, is you would never take something that you've asked an intern to do and not check it before you've forwarded on to a client or to your boss or whatever it is.
That is a very good analogy.
It's the same way of doing it.
Okay, so I've got a question. Currently, you're one of the leaders at Audience Strategies, a very close partner of Poppins. We have some very exciting things in the works together. Tell me a little bit about Audience Strategies.
Audience Strategies is a business started by David Boyle, a guy that I worked with at EMI Music. And David was the architect of the audience and insight strategy that we had at EMI that fundamentally changed the way that we looked at marketing in the music space. The music industry relied massively on learned knowledge and people doing what had been done before. We brought consumer marketing, consumer insight thinking into the music business under terra firma, and really, really changed the way that we did product development, the way we did marketing, the way we did messaging, the way we did artist development. Lots of other things went wrong at EMI. We got that bit right. David then went on to the BBC, did similar things. He went on to HarperCollins Publishing. He went to Masterclass. He went to Harrods. But then he set the business up about 4 or 5 years ago. And at its core is understanding audiences, hence audience strategies. And if you understand your audience, you can then develop strategies for how to be able to interact with them, develop products for them, develop services for them, etc. So audience strategies, the audience bit is absolutely at the core. As we've evolved over the last couple of years since the commercial launch of ChatGPT 2.5 years ago, December 2022, we've looked at how that is going to change the game. And David saw it coming, cancelled every single meeting, every single client engagement in his diary for 2 months and said, I'm going to go and figure out what this is going to do to what we do. And we've reinvented the business over the last couple of years and put AI thinking at the center of every single thing that we do. At the center of how we develop a lot of the market research insight tools that we still do today, but also with working with forward-thinking leadership teams to put AI at the center of their businesses and them as individuals, actually, the way that they think about it. So we work with individuals who can see the way that things are going and want to know more about how to do it and how to do it properly. And we call that prompt. We train people and we develop people and we work very closely with senior leadership teams around how to put prompt engineering, as you said before, at the center of everything that they do. But it's gone way beyond that now.
So you guys have worked with some pretty spectacular brands and businesses. In fact, your client list is the who's who of most industries. Mega sporting brands, mega media brands. Can you just give me some insights into how you've solved some of the C-suite challenges utilizing AI and specifically audience strategies offering?
Yeah, there's a couple of examples that spring to mind. One is, the first is a large broadcaster client of ours who essentially said, AI is going to change everything that we do, but we don't know what and where and how to best do it. Work with us to understand how we do that. We started with the C-suite, foundation training, so that they can start to think about what this is going to do. And it's really, really important, we believe, in the process, because when senior leaders see what these tools can do just for them, it opens up their thinking. And it's far more powerful than us just going in and saying, hey, here's 5 things that you can change about your organization today, because it doesn't always stick. And if they've got skin in the game, if they're invested because they understand themselves, and they may well have come up with the insights themselves. And with this client, the broadcast client, one of the things that they asked us to work with them on was how they could get through assessing scripts and concepts and those sorts of third-party creative concepts that they come in. They get a huge volume of them. And whilst they don't want the AI to be able to tell them what is good or what isn't good, what they do want to do is sort the wheat from the chaff as quickly as possible. And they basically have an 80-20 rule. 20% is something that they pursue. 80% may be great, but it's just not right for them at that time. It was a month-long process, hugely manual, very, very labor-intensive. And essentially, we worked with them to develop what we call a play, which is a long series of prompts that are replicable, to be able to actually assess those scripts and concepts and ideas that came in much more quickly, so that they could then focus all of the human energy and capital and genius and brilliance on the 20% that really did have sort of potential. And it's assessing them not just about the idea, it's also assessing them against guidelines. It's also assessing them against corporate policy. It's also assessing them against their consumer segmentation. We'd done the consumer segmentation for them. So we could literally sort of say, here is a script. Here are the audiences that we're aiming at. Will this work with those? So it is a really, really powerful way of getting to that. And it takes the brilliance of human creativity and ability and capability and focuses it on the bit that humans are superb at, rather than doing the scut work of having to grind through a load of pieces of work that way. So that's a really good example, I think, of how these tools can help us. That isn't necessarily the sort of superficially sexy bit, but that's what's going to change industries.
Transformative, sure. Okay, and so one of the other things that definitely caught my eye when we first started working together was the, I guess, portfolio of products you guys are crafting, really these AI app wrapper products that each do something very special, efficient, and different across the board. Pretty powerful tools. I myself am using them. Can you tell me a bit about those, please?
When we were going through and developing the prompt approach and the prompt methodology, what we realized is that so much of what happens in organizations is a workflow. And a workflow is just a series of steps that have either been consciously developed or sort of organically developed over the years by teams, by individuals. And it is that thing that you always hear of, it's the way it's done around here. What we do is we actually look at what those workflows are, and we identify which of those things could actually be done really well by an LLM in some way, shape, or form. And then once you've got that, we turn them into plays, as I mentioned before, the series of different prompts and strings, and it's step by step by step. But what you can now do with agentic AIs is you can effectively set those tools up where you tell the AI to actually take those separate steps, and you put an interface on it that is a little bit if this, then that. We're all used to doing drop-down menus. I mean, anytime you book a flight or something like that, you use a series of criteria, drop-down menus, whatever it is. It effectively means that you can take those workflows, turn them into processes that essentially are a predetermined series of prompts that actually work. And it's an interface that anybody in an organization can use them without actually having to understand, this is a prompt, and what do I do, and what do I put in here, and how does that work? So this is the way that things are going. Rather than somebody having to learn a series of steps, it's now building an interface that means that you can move towards these tools becoming part of your organization and your workflow. But instead of doing the workflow, the systems are doing it for you.
Tim, it's funny. You speak about these things and we talk about these things all day, and we're working on some pretty incredible projects together. The true plate tectonic shift that AI is bringing to all of the world, but specifically our industry, is phenomenally exciting to me.
Yep.
I do think over the next months, weeks, months, years, we're going to see an entire recreation and transformation of the way we market, the way we talk to our customers, the way we go after and start positioning things to these customers. It's all going to change, and
Yes.
I think for the better.
I think the closest parallel is when things really did start to go digital and we started having digital marketing and direct marketing
New media.
digital marketing, new media, exactly. And you had that weird team of boffins sitting in the corner, developing video games or pumping stuff out on CD-ROMs or floppies or whatever it is. That 25 years ago really, really was a quantum shift in marketing and marketing services and creative services. I think this is it going to be bigger? We overestimate it in the short term and we underestimate it in the long term. But I think the difference here is not just what goes on from a marketing services and creative services point of view. I think it's actually at a total organizational and societal level. And there will be huge opportunities to do things differently, but also potentially to go back and do things as they were done before at a craft level, because actually so much of what has sucked up people's time and energy has been process and detail.
I love that you said that. I present and I talk and I speak to so many different people, and there is so much fear, understandably, around what AI is going to do to our world, specifically our digital creative marketing world. And actually, I think we've been in the game long enough where actually I've seen it happen numerous times. These things happen in cyclical fashion again and again and again. And I do think AI is a far bigger tsunami of shift that's happening, but it's not the first time this happened, right? It's just about capitalizing on it. And the strong recommendation I would give to C-suite executives all the way down through to young upstart individuals is remember that all of these tools, specifically AI, are there to turn you into a better, faster, more efficient, stronger version of yourself.
Yep.
It's not coming to replace you necessarily.
No, we talk about, our mantra is about better, quicker, happier. So you get better results by using AI tools. You get them quicker than in previous processes or versions. But actually you have happier people, because I use the analogy of, imagine every day you come into work and you've got 100 credits of energy. Today, you use 50 of those credits to actually do scut work and 50 to do the stuff that you love. Mm-hmm. If an AI can actually then take it so that you only need to tell it what to do, that takes 20 credits. So you've got 80 credits to do the bit that you love, but also the bit that humans are amazing at. And I think that's what I mean about, I think it's going to liberate a huge amount of human creativity back from the sort of situation where we've got of chasing emails all the time and chasing Slacks all the time and chasing WhatsApps and all of those kinds of bits and pieces. If we can automate and get rid of a lot of those things by using foundational approaches, by using these tools and let go, be willing to trust and let go because you understand them rather than being fearful of them, then it frees you up to do things in completely different ways. And that's the really, really exciting bit. And it's why we focus far more on how you help humans use these tools rather than saying, great, how do we replace humans here? Because we kind of like humans and we love working with them and we love developing things with them, and we love the process of taking a CEO who was completely terrified of these things or completely dismissive, and then she turns around after a month of working with us and says, oh my God, why didn't I do this sooner? And that's actually the really powerful thing.
And we've seen it time and time and time again.
Yep. And we will continue to see it more and more. And the tools change constantly. So we are looking at, you sit and look at Claude. Claude updated to Claude 4.0 this week. Already, what I was doing 2 weeks ago with Claude has just shifted up another level. And these models will, the acceleration and rate of development will slow down. When, I don't know, I don't have a crystal ball, but it will slow down. But even then, so much of it is not getting fixed in your processes now.
Sure.
Because what we can do today, we couldn't even think about 12 months ago. And what we will be able to do in another 6 months will be different. So it's about actually having a mentality and shifting your mentality to think of, how do I use these tools? Because they are tools, that's what they are. How do I use these tools to do things to free me up so that 80 credits of what you love are used for the things that you really do love and that you are brilliant at, because everybody's brilliant at something. Organizations are made up of all sorts of different people, but letting them bring that magic in every day, bring that happiness in every day, that's actually the liberating factor of this rather than the fear factor of AI.
Mm.
I really want you to put it on.
I'm definitely not going to put it on.
Put it on, whichever one falls out is the one that we're going to do.
There's a lot of them in there. So Tim, this is the magical mystery hat.
Ah.
Within the magical mystery hat are some questions. I'm going to ask a random question to do with our topic of AI. I hope it's a good one.
So do I.
AI becomes a film. Who's the star? Who directs? What genre are we in? And soundtrack. Ooh, this is a good one for you, Mr. EMI.
Ooh. AI becomes a film.
So AI becomes a film. So who's the star?
So I've just been to see the new Wes Anderson, so I'm going immediately into Wes Anderson land. I'm going to go with Owen Wilson, who was not in the latest Wes Anderson, but he does have that disarming ability to take complex problems and bring them down to a level that he explains in that weird drawl of his that makes them friendly and approachable. So I think somebody like Owen Wilson is my star.
And who directs? We're saying Wes Anderson?
It's going to be Wes, because I just want that whole Wes 50s Formica vibe.
Cool. Genre, you answered. Soundtrack.
Ooh. See, I'm going to go back to my EMI days and actually pick somebody like Pink Floyd because of their willingness to experiment with new ways and means of using sound effects in the studio, using tools, using the technology that is available to do things very differently. The stories of how all of the different clocks got recorded for the intro to Time on Dark Side of the Moon. I can see something really interesting like that happening rather than just, recording a traditional intro.
I like it.
Dating me there.
I would go with, I'm going to be a bit typical here, but I need you to imagine the vision.
Okay. Do I need to close my eyes?
Please. Harrison Ford.
Yep.
But like Indiana Jones era.
Okay, we're Indiana Jones in not shrinking
good looks.
era.
Who directs? I'm going Ridley Scott. Oof. I'm thinking epic scenes. What genre? We're going to go sci-fi, and soundtrack, Daft Punk. I would watch that.
Yep, I would. I like that.
Is that Blade Runner?
Yeah, pretty much. Basically, Blade Runner is what I would like.
What's the think piece article title for AI? And why?
What is the think piece article title for AI and why?
Yep.
Easy. For me, and what's on top of my mind is AI. Will it decimate the advertising industry? Question mark. See that? Shall I say it one time? AI. No, I'm kidding. I say that because one of the questions I get asked most often is, how is AI affecting your industry? Oh, you're an industry of creatives, you craft. That's the first thing that's been taken down. Or you're an industry of developers, you've got an entire product division. Well, can't everyone just code using ChatGPT now? So I think that is something that requires clarity. More importantly, it requires leadership, and it requires leadership from agency leaders to actually go and stand out there and say, we are embracing this. It is fantastic. It is transformative, and we're ready to go. So that's my article.
I think my think piece article title would be possibly around the sort of busting up some of the myths. So it would be, don't believe the hype, but believe the substance. And the why for that is the substance of what is really changing as a result of AI is far greater than the hype is made out to be. A lot of the hype at the moment is, everybody will lose their jobs, creativity will just become process automated, etc. I don't buy that hype, but what I do buy is the huge foundational and fundamental shifts that are happening with it. So it is the substance of what is happening right now, today, and what we're working with clients right now today to do, rather than the hype, and actually that foundational substantive change is far greater and far more important than the hype. And it's more important for us as an industry, but even more, it's more important for the clients that we work with. And that's what we aim to actually help with. It's not about just things for the sake of sexiness. It's a case of how is this fundamentally going to change what you do today for the better?
I mean, I feel like you need to write that article, man.
Hey, ChatGPT. You're going to put that one back in. I know you'll get that one again. What happens if you get it again?
I'm going to go.
You're going to go to the bottom.
Magic Hat, what have you got for us? Tim, you're creating an award for the best of the best in AI. What's the award called? Who wins? These are great questions. I mean, the award is called the best of the best, and who wins is audience strategies, obviously.
Clearly. Is the account man's answer. I'm going to call the award the Synthes.
Strong.
And I think that the winner is going to be a combination of how we take the creative thinking and strategic problem solving that we take as an industry, but tied together with something that changes real people's lives for the better. So whether it's in medical science or whether it's in sort of societal shift and change around loneliness, human engagement, or something that brings something positive to society, may well be brands associated with that. And I think it is one of those things that brands will want to do, is they want to see real change that are going on. But I think there's something about how synthetic the synthy thinking is changing the way that we look at what we do that allows these sorts of things to happen, so that it becomes real fundamental change rather than just sort of superficial lipstick on a pig change.
I am going to shift this a little. I think the awards are going to be called Through Glass.
Ooh.
I have been a mega fan of the concept of AR since we were Google Glass partners in our previous agency. And I think there's a video of me being interviewed around 2012 saying that AR is here and in 3 years it's going to change it all and we're all going to be wearing glasses. It didn't happen in 3 years, but it's happening now.
Yep.
I think the winner for me at the moment is Project Astra, specifically the glasses coming from Google, Samsung.
Yep.
The reason I say that is I'm a firm believer that, I'm going to go on video and say it again, that within 3 to 5 years now, where we're at with the transformative growth of AI and product, physical product, the interface into the digital world will be a pair of glasses. I think our phones will simply become processing units in our pockets. I think that the marketing digital world will spill out into the real world. I do believe that we will have a digital layer between us and the real world. Yeah. And I think that will transform the entire way we have human interaction on a global scale.
Yeah, totally. What's fascinating, actually, and it's a parallel in terms of Johnny Ive and ChatGPT coming together.
Correct.
Is you're absolutely right. At the moment, these things are interacted with. Voice is a really good way to interact with all of the AI tools, but keyboards are rubbish.
For sure.
But to be able to actually shift across into a new way of doing it, and somebody who fundamentally rethinks things in the way that Johnny Ive and the team that he has around him, I think I'm fascinated. So I'm guessing they're probably going to win this thing.
We were showcased a prototype, a small AirPod-like device that sits in your ear and the stalk just faces forward. So the end of that has a camera, and it was just utilizing ChatGPT voice. And essentially, at that point, you already have Her, to a degree, Her being the movie, of course, with Joaquin Phoenix. And that's today. And we're seeing literally paradigm shift, plate tectonic shift again and again and again happening on a monthly basis right now. And when you see competition to this scale from brands like Google, OpenAI, Perplexity, and so on and so on and so on, and the amount of billions of investment going into it, we will be seeing transformative growth happening in the space.
Totally agree.
There has not been a more exciting time in technology or in our space, at least in my career to date.
It's exactly where we're at. It is, the technology is one piece, but again, we've got audience at the center of everything that we do. It's the thing that really excites me is how the technology is going to liberate audiences for themselves, for brands, for what we all do in the marketing services, the broader marketing services and creative spaces, that's actually the super bit. The tech is going to be awesome, but it's actually about what the tech is going to enable. That's the super cool bit. There's no tea in mine.
There is liquid in mine.
Is there?
Yeah, it's water in mine.
No, there's just sort of a lovely glossy bottom. Be much like yours, Maani.
Beautiful. I'm sure that's exactly what you guys wanted to imagine. All right, so this section is a look into the future. I'm looking at tea leaves, by the way, in case you're wondering what is in my brown mug.
I have some Lapsang Souchong here. It's lovely.
Beautiful. Earl Grey, I was going to say. So my first question based on the leaves. What's next? What is that big next thing? We've talked about lots of different key points here, but say in a year's time or 18 months, what is that next big thing?
We haven't talked a lot about media as yet, but I think one of the big things that is already beginning to change, and I think AI is going to help accelerate it, is marketing for the last 50 or 60 years has been based on the interruption model, and it's been interrupting people to sort of say, hey, look at me, buy me, look at me, buy me, look at me, buy me. We're now got a situation where what I'm thinking about, what I'm looking at, what I'm doing can follow me around, not in a creepy way, but actually in that thing where customers, audiences feel like brands are stepping into a frame of reference where they are relevant, where they are, it is not interruptive, but it is supportive and assistive, rather than it being, shouty, look at me, buy me. And I think the ways in which we can now analyze data, analyze consumer patterns, analyze audience insights, etc., will give marketeers and brand and leaders of brands the ability to be able to actually sit alongside their potential customers, and instead of just interrupting them in the hope that they may find them in a buying window, it's actually much more of a sort of supportive and assistive role, rather than sort of being irritating and that shouty guy in the corner of a browser or whatever you're looking at.
Look, I entirely agree, and it's easy for especially me in the areas I focus on to shift into answering this question by saying, we're moving into a productized AI world. We're seeing Johnny Ive and ChatGPT work together. We're seeing Project Astra and all these things. But actually, I think there's a far closer 12-month change that is a total shift in the way marketing works, right? At I/O, we saw that Google, in fact, already, if you're in the US, you can tap and remove the search results and go into a Gemini world. So all of a sudden, search engine marketing changes entirely. If I type in, I'd like to buy my wife a handbag at the moment in Google, what's the top ones? I may get Burberry, Hermes, and Chanel. But actually, if I go into Gemini or ChatGPT and ask the same question, I get a different answer. How do those brands figure that out? I mean, we have dedicated teams that solve for this, of course, but there are so many changes that will happen in the next 12 months for mega brands in terms of communicating with their customers. And I think that's really the one that the minds should be focused on. Yeah.
Everybody's talking about Google Zero. What do we do when we get to Google Zero? It is going to be different, but it's actually, I think, going to be more liberating than just working out how you constantly interrupt. I mean, the very fact that we talk about them as consumers is just wrong.
Agreed.
They're people who are looking for solutions to issues that they have or needs that they want to meet. How do we as marketeers help them with that? AI is going to be able to help us do that, because it's going to be able to do so much more of the analysis and thinking and crunching for us than we've been able to do ourselves, or with the tools we've had up until now.